I did want to bring this up because the president tweeted this out the other day, and it is amazing how often the president's Twitter feed makes news. I mean, just everything the man tweets becomes a major news story that's talked about for about 24 hours, and it really is a phenomenon to behold. So this is actually one that it does give me a fair bit of pause. Since we're talking about the budget, we're talking about the potential of shutting down the government. There's a lot going on, but this is sort of a side story, but I still think it's one that is important. Of course, the Texas judge, the federal judge there in Texas, that essentially said that when it comes to Obamacare, now that they've removed that individual mandate, then we're going to have to figure out a way, because that kind of removes the rest of the law. So he tweeted this out the other day: "As I predicted all along, Obamacare has been struck down as unconstitutional disaster. Now Congress must pass a strong law that provides great health care and protects pre-existing conditions. Mitch and Nancy, get it done." So there's a couple things that this is indicative of, and I think it is a real problem. Which Donald Trump has two things that he kind of reveals about himself. First of all, we all know that the man is not a dyed-in-the-wool constitutionalist. The guy's not really a conservative. And so when we see that he actually wants to, quote-unquote, protect pre-existing conditions, Donald Trump is a branding genius. He is a marketer. That is what he does. He's really not even that great at negotiations. He's just really good at branding things. And I'm not knocking him for it. That's a great skill, one that I wish that I had. But the man's a great brander. But because of that, sometimes he thinks that all he has to do to get a big win for himself is to basically have the same policy, change the name of it, call it something different, and then say that it was a big win for him, it's a big success. And unfortunately, this is one of the things that I was worried that he would do when it came to Obamacare. We saw him talk about this in the campaign, that there were most of the things that Obamacare does, he's actually in favor of, including apparently protecting people with pre-existing conditions, which really completely breaks the business model of all health insurance. Actually, all insurance in general. That would break the car insurance, for example. So that's the big problem, is that he seems to want to kind of rebrand things and then refer to them as his own and say that it was a win. We saw this with NAFTA. According to every expert that I talked about in economics, trade, they all said essentially the same thing. Trump's new agreement is about 90 to 95% exactly the same as NAFTA. All he did was change the name and add a few things here or there and then call it a day. And I'm afraid that he would want to do the same thing with Obamacare. Now, I don't think this is going to matter because, like I predicted yesterday, because John Roberts is still on the court, I very, very much doubt that regardless of what Kavanaugh does, that John Roberts is going to be willing to allow this to stand. He's the guy that rewrote the law and overstepped his boundaries as a judiciary to save Obamacare. So, yeah, I have my doubts that Roberts is going to allow this decision to stand. But nonetheless, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, and this is where this comes into play, that if it does, Donald Trump seems to be willing to work with the Democrats, including Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and basically pass a lot of the exact same things that were in Obamacare to replace it with essentially exactly the same law that is now called Trump Care. As long as he gets to rebrand it, he really doesn't care because he's not a policy wonk. Even his most ardent supporters and people that love Trump would tell you he's not really a policy guy. He's more of a branding guy. He's a cultural warrior, but he's not a policy guy. And this is the problem that you run into, that the president may be willing to work with Democrats and create a bill that very much favors them and sign it into law as long as he gets to name it and he gets to brand it. Now, the saving grace in all of this for conservatives is that the Democrats are so stupid and they hate Trump so much that they don't want to work with the guy even when it benefits them. Even when they would get a lot of the policies, and I've said this from the beginning, if they just decided to work with the president and praise him a little bit every now and then, they could probably get most of their policies through with Trump's approval. But because they hate the guy so much and because everything they do is poison, or everything he does, according to them, is poison, there seems to be a refusal to work with him on just about anything. And so ironically, the thing that may keep us from getting something very similar to Obamacare if this ruling stands, and again, I don't think it will, the one thing that might save us on that is the fact that the Democrats are so proud and so angry and hate Trump so much, they don't want to work with him. So ironically, that may be their downfall. You know, you really should like this video and subscribe to the Tactics YouTube channel. What's that? Oh, you want to know what the content's going to be? You want to know what's in it? No, it's like Obamacare. So you got to subscribe to find out what's in it.